Hi, we are here at South by Southwest 2013 and I'm here with Ted Cohen. How are you doing, Ted?
I'm doing very good. How are you today?
I'm doing great, man.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been a while. I think SXSW was the last time we saw.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I see you all over the world.
All over the world. That's our lifestyle.
That's it. We keep the airlines in business.
Exactly. Somebody has to do it.
Absolutely.
So, Ted, what brought you here and what are you working on?
An airplane. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. We've got. I'm doing 3 panels. We've got 10 clients here.
Nice.
We're juggling a lot of meetings. We're talking to a lot of prospective clients. I guess I should back up and talk about what I do.
Yeah.
So, and I'm trying to get people to stop calling me on my cell phone, but I'm gonna let it go. So, I run a company called Tag Strategic with a bunch of really good people, Karen Allen and others, and we provide digital strategy and business development for emerging tech companies, previously such as yourself.
Exactly.
So we basically have been doing this for the past 7 years as TAG. Before that I was at EMI and ran global digital business development, and before that for 3 years did a similar consulting practice with the first round of digital companies such as Liquid Audio and Rioport and Amplified and Napster and the RAAA, and then went to EMI and then launched TAG, so I went backwards and forwards here. But basically we provide, for lack of a better explanation, experience from both sides of the table. We've been on the rights owner side, and we're on the side of the companies trying to acquire the rights. So we have a pretty good perspective on how to get it done.
That's cool. What do you think is kind of like the biggest, issue right now in this space? Like, what needs to be fixed in order to things speed up and more progress to be made?
Better communication between both sides of the table. I think the labels and the publishers and all the rights holders, songwriters, artists, really want to see reasonable return from the exploitation of their creations and their copyrights from services such as Spotify and Deezer and Rhapsody and Pandora, all these people. They all feel that maybe they're not getting enough revenue return. On the other hand, the services sometimes act like they're doing the rights holders a favor. I think everybody really needs to understand better what the issues are for the people on the other side of the table. I think sometimes people are talking across each other. They're not really having a meaningful dialogue. As an industry, we 10 years ago were paying independent promotion people to get our music played on the radio.
Yes.
We were paying stores to display our music, and now 10, 12 years later, we're asking radio to pay us for the music, and we're asking the stores, the digital retailers, to pay us for the privilege of selling our music. There's somewhere in the middle. The old model wasn't good. The new model is a little too aggressive in the other direction. We need to get back. We need to get more of a central partnership as opposed to who's trying to one-up each other.
Makes perfect sense. So, as you know, I work in a company called Play My Song, and we are trying to kind of like bridge the digital world with the physical world, whereas we have our service allows people to play music in venues, coffee shops, restaurants. It's like a modern day jukebox. And now when I've been talking with a lot of labels and the copyright owners, there seems to be even more difficult to get the so-called on-demand licenses for music.
Right.
Obviously like Pandora and those companies operate on the DMCA, like radio type of licenses.
Right.
And then turns out almost only the paid jukebox companies typically have the on-demand rights.
Right.
Where do you see this going? Do you think that at some point, it might be easier to get on-demand licenses for services such as ours, where we don't actually charge people to play the songs?
Well, that's the question. Is what is they want to know? What is the monetization? What revenue are you going to give back to them? Is it replacement revenue or is it incremental revenue? And anyone will argue with you. You'll say it's incremental because your particular service, when people are in a club or they're throwing a party at home, they're listening to music anyway. If you can add a little bit of revenue to that sweetens as they say, sweetens the pot. I think the challenge is that the physical retail market has severely eroded in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And there's this awkward period that we need to get through where the digital revenues are meaningful enough that it's making up for the physical revenues. The phone's ringing again, and I'm going to kill this phone here. Hi, folks. I'm hanging up on somebody. I'm doing the interview. You're not here. You're supposed to be here. I told you the second row or the third row right as you walk in. I'm on live TV around the world right now, but I had to answer the call. But I got to hang up. I love you. Bye. I told him I was doing an interview. I wanted him to sit in with us. Steve Gottlieb may join us. Sorry about that. I get a phone call in every panel I ever do, and I usually end up answering it. So this is no different than the rest of my life. I think that we have to get past the per unit cost. We were a business where people thought a song was worth $1 and an album was worth $10.
Yeah.
A song is not necessarily worth $1 anymore because we were only selling 200,000 or 300,000 of them, maybe 1 million of them, sometimes 5 million, through things like Spotify and Deezer and what you do with Play My Song. We can reach tens of millions of people now, but maybe it's a fraction of a penny per play. But when artists want to create a fan base, isn't it better to be heard by 20 or 30 million people than to be heard by the 100,000 that bought your track on iTunes for 99 cents?
So
we just have to, it's not a devaluation of music, it's revaluing music in a different form, because the reach is so amazing now. Between all these different services, we can reach so many different people. We can do customized radio, we can do on demand, we can do DMCA completely compliant radio, which is not on demand and not user influenced. We can do storing, with Spotify I can store music on my Samsung Note 2, I can, have music that I've cached on there, that I've stored on there. So if I'm in a subway in New York, I can listen to the music, and that's part of the service that I'm paying for from Spotify.
Exactly.
But it is this awkward period where physical revenues were dropping at an amazing rate, while digital revenues were not growing in an equal thing. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
And I think what you just want to return a little bit to what you said about the artist discovery thing, where I read a great quote from somewhere that there's a lot of great services like Pandora, Songs, and you name it, that are really helping people to find good music, even with a bit of a more lean-back experience. But there's a great quote that the only music discovery problem in the world is for artists that can't be discovered.
Right. Well, I always say to the artists, I said, the fear of being pirated is far eclipsed by the fear of never being heard.
Exactly.
And so if I have an artist and their choice is having their music acquired, downloaded, stolen, whatever words you want to use, and enjoyed, I think that's a more desirable outcome than not having your music ever heard by anybody because you were protecting it. And there was an example when I was at EMI. We had an artist called the Red Walls, and I wanted to do an MP3 giveaway. And actually, it wasn't me, it was one of the people at Capitol Records. They called me up and said, can we do this? I said, let me see if I can get approval. I went to get approval and said, no, we can't give away MP3s because it devalues the music. 6 months later, we dropped the band. They were let go from the label because their music didn't sell.
Yeah.
Because they didn't get an audience. They didn't get a big enough audience. So we protected them, but we ruined their career.
Exactly.
It was stupid. So I always say now it's not about protecting music, it's about monetizing it.
Exactly. I think it's really both the music tech industry and the, let's say, traditional music industry can be blamed for not really thinking about creative ways of adding new revenue streams.
Right.
It's more about like sharing the cake in different directions.
Right.
And what do you think is kind of like the most interesting, positive developments that you're seeing right now in this space?
I think not Warner, but Access investing in Beats was an interesting move. That shows faith in the Daisy music, Daisy music service from Jimmy Iovine and Beats. I think that was an interesting move. I think Steve Gottlieb arriving here was an interesting move. Maybe he can join us for a couple minutes and talk about what he's up to. We're going to do an impromptu here. These guys are going to throw me out, but it's okay. You know, Steve. I'm still on. We're doing a national. We're having a good. The world's eyeballs. Hi, world. You can call me. We have a request line, 323-855-7700. Call in now. Let's see what happens. I think that Len Blavatnik investing in Daisy was a really good thing. I think that generally the labels creating experimental licenses, things like what EMI did with OpenEMI in London with EchoNest is a good move. I think anything that allows services to prove their value before they have to write the big check, if they even still need to write the big check, is a good outcome. And so I think it puts us in a lot better place for a lot of new services that maybe don't have the financial backing initially. You've got the VCs asking them to prove their model. They go to the labels and the publishers saying, can we do a test? Historically, the labels have said, well, here's the test. If you can write a big check, you've passed the test.
Exactly.
That's not the test you want to pass anymore.
Yeah.
What you want to do is be able to experiment a bit, and so EMI's done good with that. Universal seems to be more open to it. They all do, everybody. There's people like Ping Ho at Warner Music, who's really progressive. Mark Pibby and Brad Spar at Sony here in the States. Rob Wells and David Ring and the whole team at Universal are doing some good things. So I feel better about it than I did a couple of years ago.
That's great. That's great. Now I think, for example, our company Play My Song, we've really taken a strategy of not trying to acquire the licenses ourselves, but rather, integrate and partner with companies that already have them.
Right.
So for the private side, the Spotify integration obviously has been a great thing for us, and we're also doing a little bit of stuff with Mood in Europe, and so that's our current strategy. But hopefully somewhere down the line it could be a reasonable way to get the license as well and then do it. But but so far it's been a bit too challenging.
I think it's a much better time. I'm much more optimistic than I was a couple of years ago.
That's right.
I think one of the other things I preach is stop overthinking it. Stop worrying about what the revenues are going to be 4 or 5 years from now. Worry about, does the model work now? Are the people solid? Is the technology solid? Is it a good user experience? Because you and I can sit and play with all this stuff and we can figure it out. But sometimes you put some of these applications in front of people and the people who develop them think, well, it's really obvious how this works. And it's obvious to the development team how it works.
Yes.
And so really, UX and UI, user experience, user interface, is critical to give a really good experience. I've seen some great new products just in the last couple of days since I've been here.
Can you give examples of really cool products that have gotten you excited in the last couple of days?
There's one I just saw. I'll hold it up to the screen if I can do this relatively quickly. It's called, let me see if it's here. One moment. Here it is. This is an app by a company in Spain, and it's a very cool app that allows you, I don't know if I'm showing this here, it's called Wake. You go to Wake App to download it, WAKE-APP, and what it does is it allows you, if I can get to the top here, I know I can do this, folks. This is one of those moments. There we go. Okay, I'm back to it. So if I go over here and I hit start, music starts to play, and you're not seeing it.
Yeah.
But you can control the lyrics by spinning this inner disc. I can change the lyrics around. Anyway, it's a very cool interactive experience.
That's awesome.
It's somewhat Bjork-like. If you saw the Bjork product, I can pick different lyric lines as they come by here and pick which one goes by. So I just saw this. There's a bunch of guys in Spain that created this. So I really like this product. I'm seeing some cool stuff. We have back-to-back meetings.
Awesome.
We set up in the Loft Bar at the Hilton lobby, and if you're here in Austin, come by. We'll be there every day this week. So it's fun.
Good.
Any other questions? What else? Are we done? 5 more minutes. Good. So we're taking requests. If you want to call in, we're at 323-855-7700. This is the new, by the way, this is the new Blackberry 10.
How do you like it?
I like it very much. It's good. I also like the Samsung Note. I won't pull the iPhone out. Well, I like the iPhone too, but it's my least favorite. But it comes with its own electricity. Never mind.
That comes very handy in South by Southwest.
So, Blackberry 10 just came out. It's a very cool device.
About music, are you excited to see some shows later in the week? Do you have time for that?
Oh yeah, I'm going to go see Dead Mouse and Richie Houghton tonight.
Awesome.
Saw Passion Pit last night, which is really good. Going to see Prince on Saturday night.
Awesome.
But what I really like is to wander into a bar where there's not that many people and hear a band. The big lineups are interesting, but it's finding a band that you've never seen before or heard of before and just go.
That's the most exciting.
That's the coolest thing for me.
Yeah.
And what's great about South by is somebody can text you here and say, we're at the Belmont and there's this amazing band playing, and the Belmont is 5 minutes away from wherever you are. So it's not like you're in New York or Los Angeles and you're downtown in Soho, or you're in the Meatpacking District and somebody's up in the 70s on the Upper East Side and you get a message saying, come to this bar now, it's amazing. Everything here is in a 4 or 5 block radius in each direction. 5 blocks left, 5 blocks right, north, south. You can be anywhere in 10 minutes. And so last year there were a bunch of new bands that I heard, except home. A bunch of bands that I heard last year that I really liked because friends texted me and said, get over here as quickly as you can, and you can do it.
That's awesome.
You know, and you can also look and see where your friends are, like on things like Foursquare and Sonar, and those tools are actually more useful here than anywhere else in the world.
That's true, that's true. Foursquare is absolutely fantastic here.
Yeah, so it's very, very good. We're looking at questions here. I'm going to interview myself. How do you distinguish yourself from a competitor? Okay, I think we're the only people. I think Tag Strategic, as a digital consulting firm, is the only company where we have both sides of the desk experience. I mean, I ran global digital business development at EMI. Karen Allen was at, we have a call. We have a request. Yes. Yeah, I'll call you back. We're doing an interview right now. I thought you were a call in. I gave my number out. I'll call you back. This is hilarious. These guys are going to kill me. Bye. I'll call you. This was a friend of mine, Fred Myers. He was the head of Warner Promotion down here in Texas. Anyway, I'm getting all these calls. This is embarrassing. Anyway, Tag advises companies on digital strategy, but we do it with this both sides of the desk approach, where we're pretty good at knowing what the issues are with whoever you're trying to do a deal with, because we've been on that side of the table too. So that's the biggest distinguishing thing. The other thing is, I think we have the largest team of anybody. There's some really good people out there that, you know, I have a lot of respect for, but in most cases they're what we would call a solo practitioner. They're a 1 or 2 person company. There's 10 of us. We're in Miami, we're in New York, we're in LA, we have somebody in India, we have somebody in London, so we give global coverage, and it's a very complementary skill set. So I think that's the biggest difference between us and anybody else.
That's awesome, that's awesome. And how many European companies do you work with?
Right now, I think 6 or 7 of them are European. It's almost 50% European, 50% US companies. So it's good. It's a nice balance. We have 3 Israeli companies. We have 2 companies in Sweden. We used to have you in Finland. It's not too late to come back. We can do the deal right here, folks. We have a client in the UK, client in Northern Ireland. So that's most of the European ones.
That's awesome. Ted, I think we need to wrap up. It was awesome, my pleasure.
Pleasure.
Very nice to
really enjoyed
meet you. And yeah, check out the Tech Talk Austin and keep enjoying the interviews.
And if anybody wants to correspond directly, my Twitter handle is @SpinalTap. It's Spinal Tap, SPINALTAP. Thanks, everybody.
And I'm at Play My Song app. Thank you very much.